Education is the greatest gift we can give to ourselves, and we should see ourselves as lifelong learners. The main shift I've seen is where schools are supporting their teachers' mental health, and that is the biggest difference. Often we don't want to talk about trauma, grief and loss in the classroom. Some ways we can support that is normalising these conversations. You know your child best. You need to be the advocate for your child. But if you don't share what you know with your child's teacher, then how can they know it? My name is Dr. Poppy Gibson. I'm a lecturer in education at the Open University. I work on our primary ed studies team, and my specialty is moving into mental health and wellbeing and neurodivergence, and that's really the area that I focus on at the moment. No matter what age we are, we have the potential to grow, to learn something new, to learn about ourselves. Education is the greatest gift, and it's not just for children and young people. Education is the greatest gift we can give to ourselves, and we should see ourselves as lifelong learners. I absolutely love working with adults as they work on the next stage of their learning journey. There's this amazing quote that I read. It's from the Gita, the Hindu scripture, and it said, "We can never experience the world. All we can experience is our nervous system." As a primary school teacher, I really saw how when children didn't feel safe, it really goes back to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They can't thrive. And I saw how it was only when we had better understanding about a child's needs that we could meet them. It's only when our needs are met that we can really truly learn. Often we're seeing children that are, we might say, misbehaving. But if we think of behaviour as a need that isn't being met, we really need to question as educators, what is that need? I think neurodiversity is a big part of that, and it's only been the last decade or so that awareness of neurodiversity has started to improve. One thing I think that can be a hindrance when teaching any age is sometimes labels we give, and this is where I've seen the deficit of neurodivergent labels. Sometimes when we give a learner a label, we only see the label. If we only see them as a child with ADHD, we're missing all the other things they offer, like the incredible art skills they have, their brilliant imagination, their kindness and empathy for their friends. Although I think labels can be useful, and particularly we have a lot of adult learners who are seeking assessment for neurodivergence, or they're just starting to understand that they may be neurodivergent. Labels can certainly be helpful, but just remember that labels never define us. They're just a part of who we are. I think that acknowledging difference is the key to a happy classroom. But the challenge can come when parents and carers themselves aren't quite ready to accept difference. I had a child join my class mid-year, and this child came with no notes from the previous school, no background. He was absolutely amazing. He was incredible at maths. He was probably my fastest mathematician, and he was so funny. He had the best laugh. But I was really curious why he'd moved mid-year. When I went to SLT, they told me that the reason that this child had moved mid-year is because the teacher at his previous school had been asking the parents to consider an autism assessment. In this case, there were parents that were perhaps so fearful of what a label might mean that they had moved a child to another school. I think that one difficulty with neurodivergence is looking at how we support people with that diagnosis. One difficulty comes where children have comorbid issues such as trauma, neglect, and neurodivergence. And it's really difficult for educators to know which one is causing the behavioural issue in the class. I think the best thing that we need to do is really question our teacher training and think, how are we preparing teachers to support such a wide and often unknown variety of needs? We can definitely look for simple ways that we can embed fun and creativity into the daily timetables. For example, I know my own daughter, when she's at school, they do early work before school, and often it's sitting writing sentences, but actually why couldn't it be making something from Play-Doh and actually getting those tactile sensory experiences? Recently I went to an incredible school where they played music at playtime, just a small difference. There were children dancing, children were smiling, running around in time to the beat. Those simple things can not only get children moving but improve their well-being and increase that feeling of community in a school. The best play I've seen, I was working at a school where they had 48 different languages in the school. At playtime, children playing together without the need for a spoken word. So if we remember that children communicate best through play, making space for adults and children to play together can be really useful as well. Observing a child without need to putting them on the spot and asking how they feel. When we look at children that are neurodivergent, often the thing that they struggle with is how the work is delivered. You can write instructions down, You can give them visual reminders. So often it's about printing a little timetable on their desk. I've seen where we've gone from children who have been throwing chairs on the floor, trying to escape from the classroom, switch to being the first one to be ready to learn, simply by knowing that they are valued in that space, that they're going to have work that they can understand. My biggest advice for parents and carers would be, you know your child best. You need to be the advocate for your child. But if you don't share what you know with your child's teacher, then how can they know it? Particularly if your child is young or doesn't have the verbal skills to share how they're feeling. Simple things you can do at the start of a school year: make a poster with your child of their likes and dislikes, things that trigger them, things that calm them, and give that to your child's teacher. It could even be a simple list. Sure, in the knowledge, I guess, that you are your child's best advocate. The main shift I've seen is where schools are supporting their teachers' mental health, and that is the biggest difference. I've seen schools where they actually make all teachers leave their classroom at lunchtime and go into the staff room. Now, that might sound a really small thing, but if we don't have a break for ourselves, we are not going to feel refreshed in the afternoon. Simple things as well, like making sure teachers are hydrated. I've seen some teachers almost proud of the fact that they haven't been to the bathroom all day. These are basic human needs. So when our teachers are feeling relaxed, they're going to actually be able to be their best self in the classroom. Often we don't want to talk about trauma, grief, and loss in the classroom. Some ways we can support that is normalizing these conversations. It could be as simple as having a vase of flowers on your desk and looking how those flowers will over time, not being afraid to talk about death of living things and what happens after things die. One really poignant lesson that I remember is where we had a child in the class with a terminal illness. We decided to do a lesson where we thought about our favourite places. We went into the hall and we all painted pictures of our favourite places and we hung them up all around the school. Each child stood up and spoke about their favourite place. The child that was dying with a terminal illness had painted their garden. When that child actually died, we saved up as a school and we bought a rose for the child's garden. So it was really thinking about how we also can support parents and carers through our school community, not seeing the school and home as two separate things, but bringing them together. The biggest issue I see in education at the moment are children that are not able to attend or don't want to attend. And that's a sign that something's wrong. I think children and young people are striving for the same thing we strive for as adults. It's to be respected. It's to be valued. It's as simple as the teacher making sure they learn your name and pronounce it correctly, knowing that it's a safe space for you to go, knowing that you can talk about things you want to talk about and you won't feel judged. What the OU offers is a chance for people who maybe they have caring responsibilities, they have work responsibilities, they may have physical or mental needs that make it hard to get to a campus. Having the flexibility that the OU provides is absolutely unmatched, as I have seen by any other university. And I think that's what's great with studying somewhere like the OU, because although you're studying our curriculum content, you have the flexibility to be going out into schools, to find your own placements, and to actually learn alongside, to tie practice to theory and actually see what do these theories look like with 30 children in a classroom and start to make connections for yourself. Our modules are great because if you're thinking about going into teaching in the future, they're the perfect foundation to learn about children's development, to learn about pedagogy, which is the science of teaching. What we do at the Open University is give students more agency. We encourage them to think, what might work? How does it work? We encourage our students to try and find time to go into schools if they can, to make that connection. I think that for anyone thinking about a career in teaching, learning with the OU is going to give you the toolkit you need to think where you want to go next. I'm Dr. Poppy Gibson, lecturer in education at the OU, and you're watching Beyond the Books.